Hello, and welcome to Chapter 2, Planning Business Messages, Sections 2.1, which is Understanding the Communication Process, and 2.2, which is Using the 3x3 writing process as a guide. In its simplest form, communication may be defined as the transmission of information and meaning from a sender to a receiver. The crucial element in this definition is meaning. The process is successful only when the receiver understands an idea as the sender intended it. Let's look at a little bit of vocabulary for this lesson. Encoding is converting the idea into words or gestures to convey meaning. A channel is a medium over which the message travels. The receiver is the individual to whom the message is intended. Decoding means translating the message from its symbol form into meaning. And all of this communication process vocabulary helps us to understand the communication process itself. And the communication process is 5 simple steps. The sender has an idea. The sender encodes that idea into language. The sender then selects a channel and transmits the message. The receiver decodes the message and sends feedback to the sender. Now, moving on to Lesson 2, using the 3x3 writing process as a guide. You are used to writing for high school. Many of your writings throughout high school have been focused on feelings or displaying knowledge because the instructors wanted to see your thought process. Most of the time you had a minimum word count or page count, and some of the ideas tended to be creative topics where you expressed your ideas creatively, and you had the perception that quantity increases quality. The more you write, the better your grade is going to be. Business writing is completely different. It is purposeful. You're writing with a direct purpose, and you're going to stay focused on that purpose regardless. It's economical. In other words, it is concise and uses very few words to get that purpose across. And it is audience-oriented. It isn't you showing off as an author. It's your audience getting the information that they need. And it's also about, again, conciseness and clarity. You want to get your idea across as fast as possible. Writing consultants and business people complain that many college graduates entering the industry have a conscious or maybe even unconscious perception that quantity enhances quality. And in their mind, that is wrong. You need to get over the notion that longer is better. So what exactly is that 3x3 writing process? Now, I'll be honest, the very first time I sat down to get ready to teach this, when I first began looking at this, I confess I had no idea what it meant. And then when I saw the steps that are on the board, I realized this is how we've always written. Or at least it's how we're always supposed to have written. The 3x3 writing process has exactly 3 steps: pre-writing, drafting, and revising. And those steps should look very familiar. In terms of business writing, they might be a little bit different. Pre-writing prepares you to write. In high school writing, it's where you make graphic organizers, you brainstorm, things like that. In business writing, it's where you analyze your audience and your purpose for writing. In business writing, your writing is audience-oriented, so you need to be able to anticipate how your audience will react to your message. And you want to adapt your message for the right words and tone to win approval and possibly to persuade people to believe or act a certain way. This should take up 25% of your time in the writing process. I know a lot of people like to only draft and call it done, but you need to have time for pre-writing so that you can prepare your message deliberately. Drafting is where you research, you organize, and you draft. This again is only 25% of the process. And I realize you're doing the math and you're about to be upset, but 25% for pre-writing, 25% for drafting, leaving 50% for revising. Now, revising isn't typing or writing a pretty draft. This is where you edit, where you proofread, where you evaluate your message. Editing is where you check for clarity, conciseness, tone, and readability, both in organization and tone. Proofreading is where you do the stuff that, the easy stuff, the checking for spelling, grammar, punctuation, and format. Evaluating, this is where you take a cold, hard look at your draft and determine whether the message accomplishes the goal. And as I said, this should account for 50% of your time as you're writing. What you're going to do now is you're going to open up the 2122 post in Google Classroom and complete the Google Doc for 2.1 and 2.2. If any time remains for you to work on it after you finish, you can work on your research project or read sections 2.3 and 2.4. If you do not finish the assignment by the time the time is called or by the time the period ends, you will need to do so for homework.